Turn it back. That's fine, Auntie. That is fine. And then you know what? I didn't even see your comment come up either, so I'm just now seeing it. Auntie Maddie says, I'm just gonna watch because you're not seeing my answers. I don't know why I stopped. You keep playing. Don't stop. Auntie Maddie said, Lady Speed Stick and Sure and Mom.
Mom? Oh shit, I'm live.
I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna make sure that I put my Cash App over there too on YouTube so people can have a chance if they want to put in theirs also.
Uh-huh.
Let me make sure I got my volume up down because that's my problem. I have speakers going left and right. Okay,
you got two people in here. Good evening. Good evening and welcome to Let's Talk, a conversation with Unc. I'm your host, YouTube's favorite uncle, Uncle David. What's up, G fam? What up, what up? Maddie's reactions and more. Well, we know that ain't Maddie. What's going on, man? How's the family? How's everybody doing? Hoping that all is well for you. Appreciate you coming through, as always. So what's going on, everybody? It's another Thursday night. Got a new sheriff in town. Oh, okay. Well, all right. I'm sure you are glad that part is over, at least for a little while, I'm sure. Sweet Pea, hey! Thank you for coming through. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Sweet Pea.
Sweet Pea said she's getting up out of there. Ain't nobody noticing her.
Wait, she was over there too?
Yeah.
So what's going on, everybody? Like I said, we got a new sheriff in town. All that craziness is over with. Yeah, I know. Hey, my thing is, I don't want to say that either. I was about to say, well, he can't be any worse, but you know, you never want to say that. You'd be like, how bad can it be? And then you find out how bad it can be. So you just take it one day. Hey, Marissa, anime. Eat the cake, anime. What's going on, Anna? See, my buddy was having a moment, Anna. He get it squared away. Yeah, but I'm excited. Thank you for sharing me out on Maddie. I know that seeing the new vice president, it's different, and it gives the little girls something to look forward to look up to aspire to be. So we just take it from there and see how it works. Just enjoy the moment and hope that it's better than what we had. Oh, don't be like that, Anna. He dropped the thing inside the engine bay. I'm sure it was. Oh, just don't be like that. Don't treat Charles that way. You be nice to Charles. He building the car from scratch, almost kind of. I think that's a very noble thing he's doing. Hey, that friendship there, that's crazy.
We have your purpose right behind.
That's right, G. Be happy on purpose. You better be. Yeah, but that friendship that they have is I think it's really nice. I think it's cute and funny, and and it's I find something honorable and in that. It's like, okay, you got two different people from two different walks of life. Not to mention the color. I mean, it's there. Come on, Anna. But I think it's genuine. Yeah, but I really think that it's genuine. That friendship. And I was watching the three presidents last night, and they were talking, or either this morning. I don't even remember when it was, but they showed a clip of them. They were all together, and they were just talking about how things can change. Now, will it? That remains to be seen. You would hope, but all you can control is your little world. And we can only do our part. You do your part, and hope that others would do theirs. Because you can't control the actions, the thoughts of other people. They just gonna do what they do, and so all you can do is control your own. Make sure you're doing what you're supposed to do, and then take it from there. Because you worrying about what other people are doing, or paying so much attention to what other folks are doing, you really don't see what it is that you need to do, or you can't figure out your way. But I thank you all for coming through. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Please make sure you thumbs up the live. As I like to say, do it the right way. Oh, gee. Yeah, but it was Keto Girl and More. I watched. Well, by the time I turned it on, it was I was a little behind because Auntie was on the phone and she's like, "Hey, what are you watching?" And it's like, "I'm watching the inauguration." I thought everything started. From what I understood, everything started at 12. Yeah, that's what I got for thinking. You know, I should have just turned something on and then I would have seen it. But the part that I did see, and that young lady, the oh gosh, I can't even remember her name. Y'all know who I'm talking about though. The poet girl. It's cute. It's so obvious. Candy. Her sugar plum. Yeah. Hey. Maybe he'll send it to you, Anna. Don't give up yet. But that young lady she was amazing. She really was. And if you know her backstory, I was listening to the radio, and they were talking about her backstory, how she had some learning disabilities, but her mother pushed her and wouldn't allow her to use those learning disabilities as an excuse for not trying harder and not doing your best. Thank you, Keto. Blessings to you as well. I had never heard of her before, but now you scroll up and down your timelines on social media, and there she is. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I think that it's very great. I think it's a beautiful thing how she came from where she did and has been able to achieve the things that she has achieved. You know, and it's good that her mother pushed her, and like I said, didn't allow her to use those disabilities as an excuse for not trying, for not putting in the effort, not working hard. Oh, everybody's sweet, sweet pea. You got sweet Keto and sweet Anna and sweet Maddie. Okay, that's all the ladies that are sweet. Okay, that's a good thing. Yeah. And in case you all are wondering, you see the picture up there. In case you're wondering who that is my sister. Today would have been her 74th birthday. She passed away when I was 6, and so yeah, today would have been her 74th birthday. She was 21. Oh, you sweet everyone. Ain't nothing wrong with that, sweet pea. It's I remember. Well, I don't have a lot of memories. There are two memories that I have, and I remember, running up to her when she came to pick me up from school, or while I was with my mother downtown or something. We probably went to meet her at work, and then I remember being at the funeral and sitting in the front row and watching her, not understanding what that meant or what was really going on. And because she was 21, she had my nephew now, well, he was 5 then. So yeah, she had a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and she went to the dentist, and the dentist gave her, I don't know if they gave her too much sleeping medicine. I forgot how it went, but she never woke up. And hey, Jess, I remember, because my mom, she was in California. See, none of this stuff, it came later. They told me the story later on. But my mother, she was in California. But what I do remember is my dad and I going to the airport to pick my mother up. And I distinctly remember my dad saying, "Don't tell your mother about Sakithia." Okay, where you're telling a 6-year-old who is, always has loved to talk. Once I learned how to talk, and actually once I got my glasses and learned how to read, that opened up a whole nother world for me. But you're asking the mouthy 6-year-old not to say nothing. And I remember my mother getting in the car, and it couldn't have been any more than like 30 seconds where I just blurted it out. And I'm like, "Mom, Sakithia died." And I remember her looking at my dad and my dad looking at her. Well, after he turned around and looked at me, and she was like, "Oh, okay." And that was it. That was, for that part, that was all I remembered. And then I remembered that I think it was the night before the funeral. We went over to my sister's apartment, and the people were coming in, and how they do the night before, and "Hey, what up, cuz? Thank you for coming through." They come over and talk to you, and you reminisce and all this stuff. And I remember as the last person leaving, because my mother, I don't remember up until that moment, I don't remember her crying or showing any type of emotion. And I remember when the last guest was getting ready to leave, and my mom, she just lost it. I remember her, smacking the couch and hollering and screaming. And like I said, as a 6-year-old kid, I had no clue. I didn't understand what was going on. And as I got older, because she passed away the day after my birthday. My birthday is March 21st, and she passed away on the 22nd. And every year around my birthday, my mother would she'd withdraw, and she'd always seem sad. And growing up, I still couldn't understand it. So I remember asking her one day after I got a little older, and I'm like, "Mom, it's my birthday, but you don't, seem happy that, it's my birthday." She would be like, "Happy birthday, I love you, blah, blah, blah," and do different little things. But I could always see or feel that something was different. And and she explained to me that, during that time, around my birthday, she always thought about my sister. And it would, it just made her sad. And, I started to understand, okay, the circle of life is for the children to outlive the parents. And that, no parent wants to bury their child. And so I started to understand that. And she carried that. See, my sister passed in 1968. My mother passed in 2004. And so she carried that burden for all that time. I found out later on she was taking medication for depression. She was really going through it, and you really don't know sometimes what people are going through unless you ask or you see something, and so you can't always assume that because they're smiling and happy on the outside, what's actually going on the inside. And I watched my mother carry that. And I guess my own selfishness, because I guess when you're a kid and your birthday comes, and you want your parents to be super excited, and it's supposed to be all about you. And but as I got, like I said, as I got older, I really started to understand. So I kind of tempered the expectations you know, for my birthday, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, you know, it's my birthday, and this is what's happening with my mother, so I have to understand that, and so I learned to deal with it. So I really, really, I really felt bad about it, you know, and you know, I had posted something on Facebook earlier today. My brother, her and my brother, they were thick as thieves, and he used to tell me the story about how they were when they went to North Carolina, and this was during segregation. And my sister, she was she was something else. No, she really was something else. I remember my mother, she told me about one day she was looking for my sister and she's walking through the neighborhood and she's looking for my sister, and she walks past his apartment building and she hears my sister's voice, and she goes in the front door of the apartment building and she sees my sister. She's got the dude by his collar, and she's pulling him down the steps, and every time his head would hit the step, she'd be like, "You touch my MF and coat." And his head would hit the step again. And now she didn't know my mother was standing behind her. And she's like, "You touch my MF and coat." So my mother said, she was like, "Sakithia, what are you doing?" And she was like, "Ma, he touched my coat. I told him not to touch my coat." Now, it was a patent leather coat that at that time, I guess, was the thing. And there was a store where, you know, the discount store where here in DC, Morton's. And I mean, that was, if you got something from Morton's back then, you were it was the hood version of, yeah, Tawanda, yeah. You know, it was the hood version of Gucci. I guess they didn't have Gucci then, but y'all know what I'm saying. That was the hood, the hood store of prominence was Morton's. And so she said that she kept telling him don't touch the jacket, but you know, he touched it anyway, and that. You know, but she was something. You know, like I was saying, she was in North Carolina, and it was around segregation time, and her and my brother went in some, you know, they had the little diners or whatever, and you know, they weren't supposed to sit at the counter. So I remember my brother telling me, "Hey, she just wasn't having it. She sat right there at the counter and started a whole mess." But that's who she was. She was gangster. You know, she was friends with, in the neighborhood where they grew up. She might have left, but her heart and soul remains for eternity. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That is true, G. You know, it's you know, she was friends with the gang members at one side of on one end of the neighborhood, and then she was friends with the gang members at the other end. You know, she could go anywhere in that neighborhood that she wanted to go, and nobody bothered her. You know, she would. My mother used to tell me, you know, she would rather fight than breathe, and that is my daughter. That's Cutie Chewy. Now, Cutie Chewy, not so much now, but I remember a time Aunt Maddie was telling me a story about when Cutie Chewy was pregnant, and these girls decided they wanted to jump her. Well, of course, Aunt Maddie wasn't having that, so she said, "Look, y'all can fight her. Now the girl is pregnant. I don't know what Aunt Maddie was thinking about, but I guess you know that was the gangster in her too. So she was like, "Y'all can fight, but what y'all not going to do is jump her." Well, Cutie Chewy standing out there, pregnant as all get out, and she whooped all three of them one at a time. Never had a problem with them anymore. But I tell that story because that's the story of my sister. Cutie Chewie was a peer mediator. I still don't understand how that happened. She was in school. In school, she was the yeah. I think that was that Southeast in them, Tawanda. But you know, like I said, you never know, what a person is going through, and my mother was a prime example of that. And sometimes I sit and like the apartment where my sister lived, I ride past there from time to time, and I look at that building, and you know, like I told my cousin, it made me. She was like, "Yeah, that's possible because that is you." Like G said, they don't leave you weird because we're all connected. And my mom used to tell me all the time about how she treated me like, "Hey, hello, Miss Parker, how you doing, Miss Parker?" You know, she told me how she treated me like I was her son. Even after she had her own kids, it was nothing for her to take me, and I'd spend the night and hang out and things like that. And I don't remember these things, but and my brother used to tell me how they would be sitting and watching TV, and when I was a baby, they would put me in the room, and they would lay me on the bed, and every so often they would hear something go boom, and I'd start crying. So they said they would run in the room, pick me up, put me back on the bed, go back and watch TV. Sitting there watching TV, and they hear something go boom, and I go crying again. So they figured, okay, well, he ain't gonna stay in the bed. Now, I don't know if I didn't have a crib. I don't know. And one day I'm gonna ask my brother. Miss Parker said she just tried to call you on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm gonna call her.
Oh,
tell her I got glue all over my hands.
She's crafting right now, Miss Parker. She's got glue and stuff all over her hands, so she can't really. If she touched the phone, it'll just be there in her hand. But she said she's gonna call you back. Damn. See, I hate when that happens. Do you remember what I was saying? But yeah. But we're all connected, and you feel that person sometimes, and you're trying to figure out why, but it's because we're that connection is there. Oh, I remember what I was talking about now. I was talking about how my mother used to tell me she treated me like her own child. No, when I fell out the bed. See that I think that's a product of me falling out the bed. I probably bumped my head a few times, so that's why I am the way I am. But I probably need to ask my brother if there was a crib, and if so, why they didn't put me in the crib. But they would just put me back on the bed. So what they did was they put some blankets on the floor, and if I rolled off the bed, I would hit the blanket, and then they would just leave me laying there. I guess they would come check and make sure they had no broken bones or nothing like that. They should have been checking to see if there was any kind of head trauma. What? Aunt Carrie? Hey, Miss Yvette. Yeah, because because they would put me on the bed and let me fall off the bed. So if there was a crib, they should have just put me in the crib, and that way I wouldn't fall off the bed and hit the floor like that. But for some reason, they thought it was funny. As a matter of fact, even now when he tells the story, it's funny. He used to tell me I was adopted, and I used to believe that up until I don't. For a long time, I thought they used to think I was adopted. And I remember asking my mother, like, first of all, what is adoption, and did y'all adopt me? Because he said that found me on the doorstep. And I couldn't figure out why he would tell me that until after I got a little older, and they started telling me how once I came along, I started to get, all the attention. And they had this bird named Charlie. And my dad said that, every morning he would get up to go shave. And, he was shaving, Charlie would sit on his shoulder, and, while he was shaving, and Charlie could fly all through the house. But then once I came along, I was the reason why they had to get rid of Charlie. Because Charlie was used to getting that, that attention. And they caught him one time trying to, peck my eyeballs out. And I guess the bird figured that, I was a threat to his attention. Because I was the reason why he had to stay in the cage all the time. Whenever I was, laying around, which was all the time, they had to keep him in the cage. Now, I think either they had to get rid of him or he died in the cage or something. But yeah, I was the reason why Charlie was no longer of importance in the house. Either they got rid of him or he died. But it wasn't my fault. And so he used to tell me I was adopted. I'm like, you know what? So my way of getting him back was once I learned how to read, I started to read all his little love letters that he would get from his girlfriend. I mean, I don't know how I managed to find him. Probably I was plundering. Because at that time I used to, like matches and stuff. So I was probably looking for some matches. But, I would read his little love letters and I'd be like, Mom, what do love mean? Why do he say he love her? What is, so. And I don't think my mother knew about the little letters, but lo and behold, the little snitching baby brother. But yeah, that's my big sister. Like I said, I don't have a lot of memories. I have one. Miss Yvette Maddie says hello. I have one other picture with her and I down in North Carolina. Hey, Cindy, thank you for coming through. I had a whole nother topic, as y'all could probably tell by the thumbnail. But hey, this sounds better than that. I am doing very well, Cindy. How about yourself? How are you getting around? Is it better? But wait a minute, Tawana. Let's get back to this Aunt Carrie. See, let me tell y'all something about my family from Baltimore. They are the absolute best. I remember before Martin Luther King's holiday came along, they used to have the parade, and on Martin Luther King Day, on his birthday, they didn't have a Martin Luther King Day, but on his birthday, they would have a march downtown DC. And so some of my cousins would come from Baltimore. Hey, Ms. G, how are you? Thank you for coming through. Some of my cousins would come from Baltimore and they would spend the night at the house, and they were grown, and me, I'm hanging out downstairs with them, and they doing what they was doing, and I felt like I was grown and I could participate, but they wouldn't let me. So I was told I was kidnapped. Hey, cuz. But they would come and they would go to the march and get up early in the morning. They would bring their sleeping bags and camp out in the basement. And then they come back. I think that was one of the most exciting times, as a kid, was when they would come for the weekend, and I got to be, I got to hang out with them, and I mean, it was fun. It was really fun, and listening to the stories that they told, and So they would make me go upstairs. Once they started, doing their thing, I would have to go upstairs. I was like, man, this just ain't no fun. But then after I got a little older and I could hang out with them, that was a little different. But they would come, we would have the family reunion, and they would come from Baltimore by the busload. I'm like, yes. Yeah, those were the good old days. When you could, sleep on the front porch with your door open. You didn't have to worry about nobody, busting up in your house, all that kind of stuff. Now, you better not keep your door unlocked or open, much less fall asleep on the front porch. Because at that point, thank you, Miss Yvette. You subject to wake up and folks is in your house, and you wake up and all your stuff is gone. You try to figure out what happened. I remember one night, me and my buddy, we call ourselves, we bought all this beer, and because we was drinking beer then, beer and what else? Pink champagne, and we were supposed to be meeting up with these girls, and so we got drunk because they stood us up. And so we sat there, we got drunk and fell asleep on the playground. And I remember this guy riding past and he hollered, y'all better wake up. So we woke up and looked up and we started walking down the street. So there was this couple that was arguing. So we decided, we drunk, we just sat there and watched them argue. And they was in the car arguing. And, I don't even think they really paid us any attention because couldn't have been no more than 10 or 15 feet away. So I'm sure they saw us, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they were so engrossed in what they were doing. But they arguing and arguing. Yeah, oh yeah. Aunt Teen's house was the place to be. But they sitting there, they're arguing. Now we found out they was arguing over a dog because she must have made him leave and he wanted to take the dog or something. I don't remember. But anyway, they go in the house, and in our infinite wisdom, or jacked up on alcohol, whichever one you want to call it, they lived on a corner house. So the bedroom window, one of them, I guess, was on the side of the house. And there was a tree on the side of the house. So we decided we wanted to be nosy. So we started climbing the tree. And my buddy fell. He was at the top. And then I fell because, he knocked me off the tree. And all this commotion. I think I remember seeing the guy come over to the window looking. Oh no, she's not knitting. She's um oh goodness, Miss Parker. She's making something over there. She's putting stuff on glasses and coffee mugs and stuff like that. That kind of crafting. But yeah, so we fell out the tree and jumped across the fence. And I remember running across the street, falling in the street because by then we were laughing so hard at how stupid we were. So we run down the street, we get to his house, and his mother tells us, y'all not coming in here drunk. So what we do? We sat on the front porch and slept it off. We woke up the next morning. Oh, okay. Woke up the next morning trying to figure out what the hell happened. But, I tell my kids all the time, my childhood was fun. I really, really had a wonderful childhood. Hey, Tawanda, do you remember your great grandmother hat? Or was it your grandmother? Hold on. Yeah, that was your great grandmother because I'm the oldest of the the youngest of the oldest generation. So yeah. Yeah. Hat, she was something else. She was really something else. People used to say she was mean, and and she was, and people were like, well, you shouldn't say that about her, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, you should have lived with her. You'd have known exactly. I remember we used to pick at her and pick at her. So one day she was sitting in the room, she was crying, and I fell for it. I go in the room, what's the matter, Grandma? Why are you crying? Because y'all always messing with me, and I don't understand why. So I'm sitting there and I'm feeling real guilty now because she made me feel bad. I said, well, I'm sorry, Grandma, and we won't do it anymore. And really, really sorry, and we didn't know, and blah blah blah. I get up to go out the room. She's like, black MF don't come in here. No. Really? After I done poured my poor little heart out to this woman. About how sorry I was and thinking that maybe she just felt bad or. But she was mean. She used to throw shoes. She would get up early in the morning and vacuum the floor. And there was no carpet on the floor. It was just a little throw rug. And she would get up at like 5 o'clock in the morning, vacuuming. And then see my brother, he said they used to sleep in the basement. Him and my cousin Gary. And said she would get up early in the morning and with the vacuum and thumping on the floor. And I'm like, I didn't really pay it no mind, but oh yeah, Grandma was something. I ain't lying. And, I used to think that it wasn't, that they were exaggerating. But after living with her, I think my mother said she had about that. They have to be exaggerating, but they said that she had about, I think, 6 heart attacks. I'm like, that's just, she not only was she mean, but she was stubborn. She was too stubborn to leave. I'm like, and I know that's bad for me to say that, but it's the truth. Hattie Witcher was, but that was my grandma. My mama loved her. My mother said she treated her different, but hey, she was the only grandparent that I met. I remember my mother used to tell me about my granddad or her father, because my father's parents were deceased long before I was born, so I never even knew who they were, and I was the last child born of my generation. And so I was my grandfather's last one, but I did get to spend some time with him. They say he used to sit me on his knee and, do the little horsey thing, and he loved me, and he would always want to, I should have known then that I was that special kind of kid, but I didn't understand it until I got older. Now I understand, that I am truly special, and I was born to be great. But that's another story for another day. But yeah, my grandma was something. We lived in that house with her until she passed away, and I was like, huh. I was sad to see her go. I really was. Man, my childhood was fun. Now I'm going to share something with you all that I've never, ever, 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 ever shared. And it is my most embarrassing moment, and it happened in my childhood. And I'll tell it before I get ready to go off. So okay, I got about 15 minutes. So when we were younger, I would think I had to been maybe like 12 or 13. And the police used to fly around with the helicopter with the spotlight. I don't know what they was looking for at night. I guess it was part of the regular patrol. So every now and then we'd be outside. It'd be about 10 or 15 of us just hanging around on the playground, doing nothing, being kids. And so we would see the helicopter and then we would just start running. Well, they would shine the light on us. You know, we thought it was cool and we would, wave up at the helicopter and they shine the light and we go run and then they come back and shine the light on us again. And this would happen on a regular basis. So one night we were, and I lived across the street from the playground, and the school at that time, they rebuilt it now, had a hill. And when you run to a certain spot on that hill, there was like a dip. So if you missed the dip or you hit the dip, you would fall. So one night we're running and playing with the policemen and they shining the light and we running across the field. And of course, in all the excitement, I hit the dip, which was okay, except this guy, Huey Washington, was standing there urinating. I hit the ground and I felt this warm liquid hit me smack dab in the face. Let me tell y'all something. I knew it wasn't raining because rain ain't warm and it don't smell like that. And I was like, I could not. They teased me about that. I think I was the talk of the neighborhood for at least 2 weeks, maybe longer. And it probably lasted that long because I didn't come outside for at least a week and a half because I was so embarrassed. And of course, you get the names Little Pissy, P-Boy, but yeah, that right there was my most embarrassing moment. I wondered, well, Huey's passed on now, so nah, it was sad when it happened, but after a while, it just became funny. It was one of those moments in the neighborhood folklore that of the many stories that we told about or things that happened that we had to share. It was really embarrassing then. Now, it's funny. And I'm thinking, people actually, okay, never mind. I won't say that because that's not nice and that's nasty. But yeah, it's like I said, it's funny now, but then it really, really wasn't so funny. But that was a part of my childhood, the great childhood that I had. And I knew our neighborhood had went to hell because we used to have this burgundy station wagon. And in the station wagon, I'm sure some of y'all are too young to remember, but it had what's called an 8-track tape player. Now, my dad had this case with all these 8-track tapes in it, but my favorite there was one with Barry White, and the other one was the OJs. So every time we get in the car, I would pop that thing in, and that's what I would listen to. Well, one night, we sat on the porch. I mean, we were outside for the longest time. And then we went on in the house, and I remember getting up the next morning, and I noticed that the door was a little open. So I go look at the car, and I look, and I see, wires hanging and stuff laying on the front seat. And I run in the house and I tell my dad, and I'm like, Daddy, I think somebody broke in the car. Well, I didn't care too much. But what really upset me was the fact, because we had an 8-track player in the house, so I could have still been listening to my little, 8-track tapes. Yeah. But they stole the whole case with my favorite tapes in there. That's what upset me the most. And at that point, that's when I think, I realized that life in that neighborhood had changed. That, sleeping outside was no longer an option. Just it just, you couldn't keep the doors open because people were, subject to break in your house and things like that. It kind of took away the innocence. And although, the neighborhood was still great, it just wasn't, it was no longer the same. And I became suspicious of all the little criminals, because I knew all the criminals in the neighborhood, because they were the ones that I'd be glad when I get old enough to hang with them, because it seemed like they would go to bed on Friday and I wouldn't see them again till Monday. And I'm thinking they were just hanging out and having fun. But most of the time it's because they would get locked up on Friday night. And since, the court was closed on the weekend, they had to wait before they could get released. So I found that out later on, which I'm pretty glad that, I didn't hang out with them. But, I used to often wonder which one of them broke in the car and took the 8-track, but nobody ever confessed to it and nobody ever said they knew anything. And I remember them dusted for fingerprints, but nothing ever came of that. And if it did, nobody ever told me. But, like I said, that was the innocence of the neighborhood, just going away. We used to go and turn on the fire hydrant, and on those hot summer days, after we had to beg Miss Little to turn it on, because she was rather heavy and lazy, so she didn't want to walk across the playground and go turn the fire hydrant on. So we would have to wait till one of the summer program people got there, and they didn't come till I think 2:00. Man, by 2:00 it was and by me living across the street from the playground, you'd have thought that I would just go in the house and wait it out. But as a kid, you don't really think like that. Now I hate the summertime, especially having to be out in it. But when we were kids, just like the wintertime, if it snowed, we stay outside in the snow and play, and then we get in the house and the fingers be hurting. Now, I don't want to see no snow. Auntie always walking. I hope it snow and snow and snow. My days of loving the snow and being out in it is just about done. But I want to thank y'all for hanging around with me and listening to story time. Yeah, we were carefree, didn't care about nothing, because we didn't have no bills, and I grew up thinking that, we had money, but I found out later on it was just broke. But you don't think about that as a kid. You're like, just having fun and just being. And the good thing about living across the street from the playground was that, I would, because my parents would have their window open, and so I could hear what was happening. If I heard a ball bouncing, I'm up out the bed. I think sometimes I would wash my face, maybe. And I was headed across the street until my mother decided, you need to come in here and do these dishes and that. I want to wash no dishes? How you going to be calling me in the house when everybody's outside, I mean, and they had this whistle, and it went. Let's see if I can remember it. Yeah, when you heard the whistle, you knew what it meant, and everybody in the neighborhood knew what that meant. So now I gotta go in the house, and because my mother, she called me by my first and middle name because my dad, his first name was David. So the only way she could distinguish us, because there was no little David or big David, it was David and David Allen. So I'd be on the other side of the playground, and all I hear was, David Allen! Y'all don't understand how embarrassing that was, especially after I got to be of age where I was talking to girls. Yeah. And I'd be walking across the playground, and all you hear is the big boys, David Allen! Your mother wants you. Yeah, well, whatever. But it's been a great night. Thank you for the 8 people that are still here. Hope to see y'all tomorrow night for Unc's Juke Joint. The doors open at 8. Bring your own whatever. I don't even have any setups for you, so you got to bring your own setups and whatever it is your beverage of choice. We'll come out and listen to some good music. Have a little bit of fun. Turn the music on. Even if you don't even say anything, just turn it on and just go do whatever it is you're doing. It's a good time to be had by all. And I'll be back again for Let's Talk, a conversation with Unc. Let's see, Saturday at 7. And don't forget to come join Aunt Mattie TV. She'll be live tomorrow evening at 7. So come on through, have a good time, have a good conversation. And probably listen to me ramble some more. Thank you, Cindy. I appreciate you. Thank you, Keto. Tawanda, I appreciate you coming through. Sweet Pea, Miss Parker, Miss G, Miss Yvette, of course, the G fam, Just Living, Anna Mae. I thank you all for coming through. I appreciate it. If I missed anybody, let me know. Drop me an email or something. Thank you, Cindy. Like I said, I had a whole different show that I was going to do, a topic, I should say, that I was going to do, but I started talking about my sister, and that just took me in a completely different direction. Oh, that's right. Happy birthday, Tawanda. I forgot. Girl, the birthday girl. Happy birthday, cuz. And thank you for spending some of your birthday here with me and with us. I appreciate it. I love you to death. You know that. I appreciate your support. And tell everybody over there in Be More, I say, hey. But once again, y'all, I thank y'all so much for coming through and spending your evening with me. I will see y'all tomorrow night. Sheesh. At 8 o'clock on Juke Joint. And Saturday, another edition of Let's Talk, a conversation with Unc. So until then, be happy on purpose and know that I believe in you too. Peace.